Welcome to Iconic Props. I'm Mason. I like to break and make. Grab tools. Let's do something. Be somebody. Welcome back to Iconic Props. This is the second half of this two-part mold tutorial. In the first part of the mold tutorial, I created the main detail part for this Boba Fett blaster grip. In the second video, we are going to flip that over, take the clay out, clean it up, and pour the second half of the mold. Once that's done, we'll end up with this. We'll learn how to channel it, and then pour our first part for the blaster. Stay tuned.
Six and a half hours later.
All right, mold complete. we are ready to pour our first part. Now that you've seen how we created this two-piece mold, we're going to put in some channels for air release and pouring and make the part, so stay tuned. This mold is fairly simple. There are no spots that are going to cause problems for air release, spare maybe here. So the first step here would be to use this channeler, which is sharpened on one edge, to create a small gassing line right here. So any air or plastic that's down in this corner will escape to the top of the mold. This will also tell me when the mold is absolutely full. Now the second piece is the release part. So as you can see, I poured this part where this detail piece doesn't actually do much. Most of the detail is on this side of the mold. This sits into the mold like this, and I will pour it vertically like this. So I need to make a pour spout somewhere in this area. Now, I have to take into account the volume of plastic that needs to go into here. So for this, I'm going to cut a wedge. Never cut towards your thumb. And then I'm going to cut another wedge here. And this should give me sufficient flow in order for the part to have a very small repair spot, but allow me to pour the plastic in fast enough. Now, one pro tip here is once I've got the spot, which is very, very small, if you can see the actual hole, I can then create a wider pour spout so it's easier for me to actually get the silicone into it without affecting the actual place that it actually touches the part. So right now I'm just cleaning this out just a little bit so that it's easier for me to pour the resin into the part. Now I can also do a little bit on this side, but it's not going to hurt. So be very, very careful with your X-Acto, and you don't want to damage the part. So once you have this piece cut and cleaned, and you can see that it doesn't actually touch the part line, now I've got an easier spot to pour my plastic in. Okay, so this shouldn't be real difficult. First things first is to make sure that your mold is together and seated, and that's what the keys are for. Then I'm going to lay the part here. We're holding the mold together. This should be probably one clamp is sufficient for this. I want to visibly look at it and make sure that I don't see any cracks anywhere around in the silicone. Once I have it fairly tight, if I go too much tighter, I can see the mold deform, so I'm going to try to make sure it's sealed all the way around without deforming the mold. Once this is done, I'm going to mix up some RC3, Alumilites RC3, for my test pour. All right, it's been about 10-12 minutes. Let's pop it apart and see what we got. You can see we have details on both sides of the part. And that is otherwise a perfect pull. It is a perfect duplicate of the part, right down to any scratches. And that's all there is to it. If you've created the mold the same way I did it, you should have had the same results. If you're having problems, you can always leave a comment below, and since I have no subscribers, I'm probably going to answer you. We're probably going to talk about some stuff. So anyways, if you would, like, subscribe, ask questions, share this with your friends, anybody who's in the prop business. My prop handle is typically ICONIC Props or Stormrider. You can find me just about everywhere Star Wars is created and talked about. So have a great rest of your day. Deuces. Be somebody. So yesterday while I was making this mold, during the second half of the pour I had some extra silicone. I don't typically like to throw that away. I typically like to put it on things around the shop and test things like different paints, different plastics, different covers, different woods, just different things to make sure that if I ever have to make a mold of that item or on that paint or it's going to be contaminated with it, I can know whether or not the silicone is going to cure because certain things inhibit platinum silicone. So in doing so, I grabbed a spare part from around the shop and I whipped up another mold in a matter of 2 minutes. So I filmed that, I've edited it, that video is right after this one, so make sure to check it out. Deuces.